Napoleon Hill, The Pain That Builds You. What if I told you that every moment of agony you have experienced, every failure that left you broken on the floor, every disappointment that made you question your worth, and every painful loss that brought you to your knees was not a punishment from an uncaring universe, but rather the precise and intentional sculpting tools that God uses to carve masterpieces from ordinary stone? What if I revealed to you that Napoleon Hill, after studying thousands of successful individuals and analyzing the patterns that separate champions from casualties, discovered that pain is not the enemy of greatness, but its most faithful companion, not the obstacle to your destiny, but the very pathway that leads you there? This is not another shallow motivational speech about pushing through difficulties or maintaining a positive attitude when life gets hard. This is about understanding the profound spiritual and psychological truth that everything of genuine value in this world, everything that possesses real worth, everything that stands the test of time and creates lasting impact, is forged in the furnace of discomfort, shaped by the hammer of adversity, and polished through the grinding process of persistent struggle against forces that seem designed to break you, but are actually designed to make you into someone worthy of the success you claim to desire. Every diamond that sparkles with breathtaking beauty was once nothing more than ordinary carbon that endured millions of years of crushing pressure deep beneath the Earth's surface. And every human being who achieves extraordinary results was once an ordinary person who made the conscious decision to embrace the crushing pressure of personal growth rather than seeking the comfortable numbness of avoiding all challenge, all risk, all possibility of failure or disappointment. Napoleon Hill understood that the universe operates according to spiritual laws that are as reliable as the laws of physics, and one of these fundamental laws is that the depth of your pain will always determine the height of your potential, that the intensity of your struggle will always dictate the magnitude of your strength, and that the darkness you are willing to walk through will always determine how much light you can eventually bring to the world. When you look around at the people who seem to glide through life without ever encountering serious obstacles, who appear to achieve success effortlessly, who never seem to struggle with doubt, fear, or failure, you are not seeing the whole story. You are seeing only the final act of a play that began years or even decades earlier in the hidden chambers of private agony, in the lonely hours when nobody was watching. In the moments when they made the decision to use their pain as fuel instead of using it as an excuse to quit, to give up, to settle for a life of comfortable mediocrity. The process of becoming great is inherently painful because it requires you to die to who you have been in order to be reborn as who you are meant to become. And death is never comfortable, never easy, never something that happens without resistance from every fiber of your being that wants to cling to the familiar, the known, the safe harbor of your current limitations. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you are choosing a form of voluntary crucifixion, allowing parts of your old self to die so that new and better versions of yourself can emerge from the ashes of your former limitations. Hill discovered that failure is not the opposite of success, but rather success's most essential ingredient, not the enemy that must be avoided at all costs, but the teacher that provides the most valuable lessons. Not the end of your story, but the beginning of your transformation from someone who dreams about greatness into someone who embodies it through their daily choices, their persistent efforts, and their refusal to allow temporary defeats to become permanent surrenders. Failure is what cleans you from the inside out, stripping away the illusions you have about yourself, the false beliefs you have carried about what you are capable of, the comfortable lies you have told yourself about why you cannot achieve what others have achieved. When failure visits your life like an unwelcome guest who overstays their welcome, when disappointment becomes your constant companion, when every door you approach seems to slam shut in your face just as you reach for the handle, you have two choices that will determine the entire trajectory of your existence. You can allow these experiences to embitter you, to convince you that life is unfair and that your dreams are unrealistic fantasies that should be abandoned in favor of accepting whatever scraps of contentment you can gather. Or you can recognize these painful experiences as the curriculum of your higher education, the advanced training course that is preparing you for responsibilities, opportunities, and levels of impact that you could never handle without first being strengthened, refined, and purified through the alchemy of adversity. The question that Napoleon Hill posed to every person who claimed they wanted to achieve something significant with their life was both simple and terrifying. What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? This question cuts through all the excuses, all the rationalizations, all the carefully constructed justifications for playing small and living safely, and forces you to confront the uncomfortable truth that you have been allowing the possibility of failure to dictate the boundaries of your ambitions, to determine the scope of your dreams, to control the size of the life you are willing to live. But here is the paradox that most people never understand. The very act of asking yourself what you would do if failure were impossible reveals that you have already failed in the most fundamental way. You have failed to recognize that failure is not something to be avoided, but something to be embraced. Not something that disqualifies you from greatness, but something that qualifies you for it. Not something that proves you are not capable of extraordinary achievement, but something that proves you are brave enough to attempt extraordinary achievement in a world where most people are too terrified of disappointment to ever try anything that matters. The person who has never failed at anything significant has also never attempted anything significant, and therefore has nothing of value to offer to a world that desperately needs people who have been tested by fire, forged by pressure, and refined through the painful process of learning what does not work, so that they can eventually discover what does work. Your scars are not evidence of your weakness. They are proof of your willingness to engage in the battles that forge, character, develop wisdom, and create the internal strength necessary to carry the weight of genuine success when it finally arrives. Every morning when you wake up, you face a choice that will either move you closer to or further away from the person you are capable of becoming, and that choice is whether you will seek comfort or pursue courage, whether you will choose the path of least resistance or the path of greatest growth, whether you will allow your fear of pain to keep you trapped in the prison of your current limitations, or allow your desire for transformation to drive you into the wilderness where all real development takes place. The mountains that stand between you and your dreams were not placed there to stop you. They were placed there to test your commitment, to measure your determination, and to ensure that when you finally reach the summit, you will have developed the strength of character necessary to remain there and to help others make the same treacherous but ultimately rewarding journey. You were not designed by your Creator to live in the valleys of comfort and convenience. You were engineered for elevation, built for climbing, fashioned for the thin air of high altitudes where the view is spectacular, but the breathing is difficult, where the achievement is extraordinary, but the price is steep, where the rewards are magnificent, but the requirements are severe. Every time you choose the easy path, the comfortable option, the safe alternative, you are not just avoiding temporary discomfort. You are betraying your fundamental nature, abandoning your divine assignment, and settling for a version of yourself that is so far below your true potential that it constitutes a form of spiritual suicide. The blood that falls from your hands as you climb the rocky slopes of personal development is not a sign that you are being punished for your ambition. It is evidence that you are paying the price that excellence demands, investing the currency that transformation requires, making the sacrifice that separates those who achieve their dreams from those who merely dream about achieving their dreams. The sweat that pours from your body as you push yourself beyond your perceived limitations is not a burden to be endured, but a baptism to be celebrated, not a sign of suffering, but a symbol of sanctification, not proof of pain, but evidence of progress toward the person you were born to become. The tears that flow from your eyes when the weight of your struggles threatens to crush your spirit are not tears of defeat, but tears of purification. washing away the impurities of doubt, fear, and small thinking that have accumulated over years of accepting less than you deserve, settling for less than you are capable of, and believing less about yourself than God believes about you. These tears are sacred because they represent the death of your old self and the birth of your new self, the end of who you have been and the beginning of who you are becoming, the final moments of your caterpillar existence before you emerge as the butterfly you were always meant to be. When you find yourself running alone through the rain while others seek shelter, when you discover that the path to your dreams is a solitary journey that most people are not willing to take with you, when you realize that the price of greatness includes the loneliness of being misunderstood by those who have never dared to attempt what you are attempting, do not interpret this isolation as evidence that you are on the wrong path. Recognize it as confirmation that you are on the right path, the path that leads away from the crowded highway of mediocrity and toward the narrow mountain trail that only the truly committed are brave enough to travel. The boxing gloves that lie abandoned on the floor of your training ground are not symbols of defeat, but trophies of engagement, not evidence of surrender, but proof of your willingness to enter the ring with your fears, your limitations, and your doubts, to stand toe-to-toe with the internal opponents that have kept you small for far too long, to throw punches at the mental barriers that have separated you from your destiny. Even if you have been knocked down more times than you can count, even if you have been battered and bruised by life's relentless combination of challenges and setbacks, the fact that you are still willing to put on those gloves and enter the arena of personal growth means that you have already won the most important victory. The victory over the voice in your head that whispers, "You should quit while you are behind." Hill understood that pain is not random, not meaningless, not without purpose. Pain is the price that must be paid for admission into the exclusive club of those who have transcended their circumstances, overcome their limitations, and transformed their dreams from wishful thinking into lived reality. The person who tries to avoid all pain will also avoid all growth. The person who seeks to eliminate all discomfort will also eliminate all progress. And the person who refuses to pay the price of transformation will remain trapped forever in the prison of their current condition, wondering why others seem to live lives of significance while they struggle to find meaning in their existence. Every champion in every field of human endeavor has learned to reframe their relationship with pain, to see it not as an enemy to be defeated, but as a mentor to be embraced, not as a punishment to be endured, but as preparation to be welcomed, not as evidence that they are not meant for greatness, but as proof that greatness is being forged within them through the very experiences that lesser people use as excuses to quit, to compromise, to settle for lives of quiet desperation instead of lives of bold adventure. The rain that soaks your clothes as you pursue your dreams while others stay inside where it is warm and dry is not a sign that the universe is against you. It is a baptism that is washing away every excuse you have ever made, every limitation you have ever accepted, every small thought you have ever entertained about yourself and your possibilities. When you emerge from this storm, you will not be the same person who entered it. You will be stronger, wiser, more resilient, and infinitely more prepared to handle the responsibilities that come with living up to your full potential. Right now, in this very moment, you stand at the crossroads between the person you have been and the person you could become, between a life of comfortable mediocrity and a life of uncomfortable excellence, between the safety of staying where you are and the risk of becoming who you were meant to be. The pain you are avoiding is not protecting you from harm. It is preventing you from growth, and growth is the only currency that can purchase the life you truly want to live. Pain is not the enemy of your dreams. Pain is the sculptor of your destiny, the architect of your character, the price of admission to the life you claim you want to live but have been unwilling to pay for. Greatness is not a destination you arrive at by accident. It is a reward that must be earned through the conscious decision to transform every moment of agony into a moment of growth, every setback into a setup for a comeback, every failure into a lesson that brings you one step closer to the success that has been waiting patiently for you to become worthy of it through the painful but necessary process of becoming the person who deserves it.